We leased 101 units here in the Chicago market the first quarter of 2026, and this is what we found out. My name is 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗃, partner founder here at GC Realty Development, also co-host of Chicago's #1 real estate investing podcast, Straight Up Chicago Investor. Check that out. But what I want to talk to you about today is what, I broke down the 101 leases that we got signed here in Q1. It's interesting, the story it tells, and then also kind of the outlook on what's coming up here the rest of the year. So 101 units leased, that's more than we've leased the last 2 years. So, we obviously have more units under management and we're able to have more opportunities to rent things out. So that's up, that's nothing really that's controllable. Our average time for the 101 units was 31 days. So from unit listed to unit leased, 31 days. Now, where that data breaks down is pretty interesting. So the units that we actually listed after January 1st, so inside of Q1, it was 68 of them. And those only took 20 days average. So I don't know if you've watched any of our stuff in the past, but in 2025, our average across the entire year was right around 19 days, So I think it was 17 if you have if you're not marketing your place, if you're allowing pets, and then I think it was like 21 if you weren't allowing pets. I could put a reference to that link here below to see that article. But it only took about 20 days, which is a surprise for January, right? And I do think there's a lot of pent-up demand as you come out of the holidays and people all of a sudden are like, oh no, I got to find a place to move for February 1st. So for the 68 we listed inside of the Q1, after January 1st, it was only average 20 days. Now, during that time, we got 28 units leased that were listed prior to January 1st. So it was kind of, call it hangover from Q4 2025. And those took an average of 58 days. Now, some of those were listed right around Thanksgiving. Some of them had a couple deals fall apart, but 28 of those deals took an average of 58 days, which is kind of crazy. So of those 101 that we leased, 55 of them required price drops. And the crazy thing there is the biggest price drops we had to do, and I don't know if this is crazy because this does make sense to me, but the biggest price drops we had to do were in the city. Now, I think that the city of Chicago, especially the north side neighborhoods, northwest side neighborhoods, they have more seasonality to their leasing team, to their leasing season. And that, what you could get for rent in June is a larger percentage higher than what you could get for in January, or just call it overall winter. Versus a place like Naperville, Schaumburg, Bartlett, even Burr Ridge, the difference between the peak of the season and the low of the season is not as large. So our biggest price drops that we did have were in city neighborhoods, all on northwest side. So that's something to take into account. A lot of people you probably hear talking about, the leasing season and make sure your lease ends by this date. It's real. And sometimes, I looked at a couple of our price drops, one of them in particular in 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗃 Park. It was a $350 difference between what we started at based on comps in late 2025 that were completed to what we actually got at least at. So that's a shame. We were able to make up on that 𝗥𝗲𝗃 Park one, some pet rent that we built in there, and they're going to do a shorter term lease that they'll be able to increase it back here in the summer again. But no matter what, keep that in mind, especially if you're in the suburbs. Now, application is always a great metric to track. We had an average of about 6 apps per property, which is pretty solid. And that gives you some options, and lets you kind of make sure that you're getting the top quality. Now, our average quality of applications were not as high in the off season, which is traditionally, that's pretty normal for us. So, love to hear any thoughts you have. If you have any information on places you tried to rent here out Q1 and what your experience was, love to hear that. Now, looking forward to the rest of 2026. This was such a great start of the season. You heard the things that we leased in Q1 were only average about 20 days. So if in January, February, March, we're able to lease things out in 20 days, I'm excited to see what we're going to be able to do here in the rest of the season as the demand is ticking up. And I think it's going to be even better than last year, 2025 or 2024. And I say that because some of the factors have not changed. And if anything, they've gotten worse. The amount of new construction units, apartment buildings, condos, all that stuff coming online is like at an all-time low. I think there's only like 4,000 units or something like that planned to come online here in 2026, which means there's not going to have these crazy lease-up incentives that some of these apartment buildings had in South Loop and some of the suburbs out here we had the previous 3-4 years. So keep that in mind. That does give you as a landlord the opportunity to really put your rent at a level that is maybe higher than you expected. And the other factor there is, because the inventory is low for people to leave their rental and go buy a house, whether it be buy a house in one of the neighborhoods or buy a house in one of the suburbs, that inventory is down. And there's tons of tenants I know we have that continue to lease year over year, not because they want to, but because they really want their next move to be something they're purchasing, and they just haven't been able to get that right property under contract yet. So it's a really great outlook here we have for 2026. And I'm excited about it, and I'll continue to report quarter over quarter how we're doing. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear what you're thinking as well too. If you have a vacancy coming up and you don't want to deal with it, let's talk. We have a full service property management and tenant placement services that we provide for Chicago landlords here in the city and suburbs. So anything we can do to help you with that. If you just have questions around the whole leasing process, love to help you with that as well too. So appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.